name is Vojtěch. I'm going to try to, well, sorry. Okay, I managed to say just 2 words, so it's fine. So hello, my name is Vojtěch. I'm going to try to give you a short lesson of the, I think, basics of photography, because I didn't get any specific info of what should I aim for, so I'm just gonna know the basics. If everybody's fine with that. If you have any questions anytime, just raise your hand. It's welcome. Should I start all over again? No. So
These late people.
So I don't know if I should say anything more about myself. Currently I'm working for, I don't know even how many subjects. I work also for example, for the National Theatre or Symphonic Orchestra, etc., etc. So it's
Hello, sorry I'm late.
welcome.
Thank you. Lucky.
Okay, so now we have to, because chairs are full. So,
Is someone sitting here?
No.
okay, welcome.
Thank
My
you.
name is Vojta. I'm
gonna.
gonna try to. You're the only one I see with the equipment, I assume.
Yeah, I actually am a concert photographer for 15 years now.
Cool.
Yeah.
Some interesting discussion then.
Okay, I'm glad.
Well,
Looking forward.
I was just talking about. I didn't get any specific information what I should aim for, so I'm gonna do the basics.
Okay.
We will see what's going.
That's what I like to hear the most. So.
All right. So, and as I said before, also before you two arrived, if you have any questions, anytime, raise your hand. It's welcome. So, you probably know what this might be. This is, let's say, a viewfinder of a modern camera with many things we won't need to use or think of, like all these autofocus and measuring points. Do you know what this is? This little bar here.
I don't know how to say it in English, but like the
It shows.
angle of
It shows you amount of light in the scene.
Oh,
It's a mini light meter.
Thank you. And I think most easiest example to use for, let's say, for the concert photography is if you just buy a camera, you turn it on, it's usually set up in some mode like this, where all these autofocus and measuring points are on, and they are measuring amount of light in a respective position, and it kind of makes an average exposition values, which are these. This is a F number, which is somewhat telling you how deep your depth of the field would be, and this is the exposure time, which is of course how long the shutter is open for the light to get into the sensitive material, wherever it is, if it's digital or analog, I don't care. So imagine that you have a singer. The singer is somewhere around here. You can easily see him, you can easily focus on him, but here there is like some light as usual blinking. For a moment you can see it, for a moment you can't, and in a moment if you're using some basic mode like, I don't know, something automatic, the light comes on, it fucks up your exposition, and you're not going to see the singer, because this is a much brighter light source than his face would reflect to your camera. So, what we're going to try, maybe even try to learn, is to use just this one. It's, let's say, easy to use, just this one, the middle one, for 2 reasons, because it's also autofocus point, so it's the most precise autofocus point in your viewfinder, and also those measuring points around are not as small as this one could be, because professional cameras can have, let's say, 2.3% from the whole viewfinder, just that small measuring point. And we're going to be using just that to evaluate how much light it is in the object we are going to take a picture of. I prepared a couple of pictures, which you will see through this viewfinder with a real settings and exposition measurements. I'm gonna be asking you where you think I was measuring the specific picture I'm gonna show you. So, basic idea for us is that we're gonna, if you imagine then that here is a singer and here is some light source and stage and etc. We're gonna determine which part of the picture is most important for us. Of course, at this moment it's gonna be the face of the singer. So we're gonna move the middle of the viewfinder on his face. We're gonna measure the light. We're gonna set everything in manual. Hello. We're gonna work only in manual. It's very important because what would you say is the most important thing to learn something really, really well?
Repetition.
Yeah, but what you're gonna do, what's gonna happen to you if you repeat something very often?
You're gonna learn it the wrong way and pick up
You're
bad
gonna
habits.
make mistakes.
Oh.
And the
That's the
manual,
most important thing.
yes. And the manual also, M, for me, in my mind, stands for memorizing my mistakes. And that's very important to work with only in this regime, because that's really gonna tell you, that's gonna, like, you don't want to let your camera decide for you. Because in a modern cameras, there is, for example, I don't know if you ever saw that modern mirrorless system where light goes directly to the sensor and you have a small LCD screen in the viewfinder. It's the most horrific system I saw. It's completely disconnecting from the, or at least me. Hello.
Is it too late to enter?
I'm not sure, let's try.
Okay, thank you.
So, maybe take these two, I think I'm not gonna see.
Можеш взяти, а не це не зробити.
So these modern, completely digital systems work like this. They have a catalog of examples, and if you're looking at something, the camera inside like switches between the examples, and I don't know if they have like 30,000 pictures in themselves, and they are listening through that, trying to find the most correct example. So you literally today you don't know what the camera is doing. So you may take wonderful pictures, but you don't know how it happened. We are going to avoid that with that. And we're gonna do a lot of mistakes, and we're gonna memorize them, and that's gonna be our way for the better pictures. So, as I said, sorry.
I wanted to say something about mirrorless cameras that you actually, as I see you don't like them.
Yeah.
I was at the same mind as you for 6 months ago, and then I tried the mirrorless camera.
I tried them too.
And I bought one, and since I bought the mirrorless camera, I didn't took my DSLR in hands at all.
Really?
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about that.
Yeah, sure.
Because I have many problems with the electronic shutter. There is one picture I'm going to particularly show you why I don't like them, because of the exposition time and what it does when it's reading the light in real time. Because it's kind of fucky. But we're going to get to that. So, where did I end up? So yeah, we measure our main motive with that middle point. We're going to focus on it. Also, what I think for me personally is interesting is to work with that middle point, because you always like choose something, you're going to measure that, you're going to focus that, and then you're going to make a composition from the middle. It just maybe for the workflow, just an idea. It doesn't have to work for you, it works for me. So, then we know what all these are, we know what this is, we know what this is. And I think we can try to get to this. Because everything is, in a photography is somewhat interconnected, of course. So, for example, if you have 160 at 2.8 f number and 400 ISO, and your exposition is here, if you're gonna change this number to 80, your exposure meter will go 1/3 down. If you do the same thing, I don't know, with the ISO, it's gonna go, if you click once, it's always one of these steps. It doesn't matter if it's exposition type, if it's f number, or if it's an ISO, it's always these steps. We're going to look to that maybe when we try to do something practical. Then, also, even today's materials have something called exposition flexibility. Do you know the term?
No.
It's how well sensor can adapt to the highest point of light and to the lowest point of light, to the widest end.
It's what I call dynamic range. I call it different. It's dynamic range. I call it like that.
All right. What is maybe interesting to know that digital cameras are like getting much better in this field, almost as the I don't know, analog pictures or materials were. It's close. It's not there yet, but it's really close. And the method I'm using because I'm really often using really high sensitivity settings, which means grain in the picture because it's a really like gained signal. And the way I work with it is I slightly overexpose that. That means that if now I would be measuring, it wouldn't be in the middle, it would be maybe even +1. And then in post-process, without any noise reduction, so you don't lose any detail, you just put it slightly down, and every grain, all the grain is gone like instantly. Example is, now, where would you say I was measuring exposition for this picture? Any guesses? What is the most important part for me?
The girl on the left?
Yes, of course. And when I was measuring this little part, it's really bright, as you can see. And when I was measuring it, I knew all, like most of the space of the picture is really white. So it was slightly dangerous in the, like I can overexpose some parts and lose some details. But let me show you this. When I was measuring, my, like, let's say, the signal was like up here, that's +2. Might be considered in the digital like quite up. But look at this. This is -1 in post-process. This is something like a correct exposition. And this is even lower, even lower, even lower. And there are almost no whitewashed places. And the grain is non-existent, and I don't need to use any algorithm for getting rid of noise. So what I did, I overexposed over 2. I put it -1, and this is like a picture I would give away. Why is this important? Is because before, when we worked with the analog materials, there were 2 parts, 2 stages of development which were depending on the light exposition. One of them was, of course, taking the picture itself, and the second was when we were developing the pictures in the darkroom. We could wait under the machine with the light turned on for minutes. And if we had a like bad negative, like underexposed, we could rescue it this way. This part of the process in the digital doesn't exist, so we have to be right at the first time. Otherwise, we just don't have a picture. So this is one of the methods I prefer, especially in theaters or concert halls or things like that, because that is always low light situation. So we will need to use that gained powered up settings. So, do you have any questions regarding this topic?
No, it just makes sense.
Okay, so let's get to this example. Imagine this is a real time you looking through the viewfinder at the scene you're taking pictures of. Your measuring point is here, and it's showing you that it's completely washed away. It's even blinking like it's out of the scale, you know? But you don't care because you are in this regime, you are already set up, everything is all right. You just can take a picture and don't mind that exposition is telling you something different. Now, what I would like to try is, I'm gonna scroll through something like 40 pictures, and I would like to ask you what you think was my main point where I was measuring. And I'm gonna try to speed up so you're like, you know, your mind is full quickly. Overwhelmed maybe. So, guess where I was measuring?
The girl again?
Yes. It was here, and it was just in the middle, because there really wasn't any more light for me to go higher. Okay. Come on, moment is gone.
Yes.
Yes. And also it was just in the middle because it's very contrast. Also maybe I should say, this is one of the examples. I think
And this was done on purpose, that you were wanted to focus on her hair, which are very like sharp, not the face?
Yes, because, well, actually I wanted the face, but then if you, first I wanted the face, but then if you imagine the picture ahead, this is with a F number 2.0 or 135 millimeters, which means depth of the field is really, really shallow. And then if you imagine that you have a sharp face, look at the proportions, how small part of the picture that is. So maybe I just decided for that reason to do the hairs. Also, I couldn't raise up, although I had this crazy exposition in a theater, which is really, really unusual. But this here is iron rope, and it was taken during the performance when I couldn't move elsewhere. So imagine if I would use the higher F number, the depth of the field would be wider, and this would be much sharper, and it would be much more annoying to looking at actually. So what I was also about to say, this is like during my now like 13 years I do this professionally. This is like the second time I had won 8,000 in a theater. It's really unusual. There was really a lot of light, but not possibility to go with a bigger F number. And you have all these ideas while you taking the pictures manually, because it's your choice, not your camera's, your idea. That's very important. So, wear this.
For faces.
Totally. Wear this.
Shoes.
Shoes.
The girls.
Shoes wouldn't be the, I think, most important part of this picture. This.
The girl in the middle.
Sorry?
The girl in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This.
Faces.
Sure. Also, you can see also this is respective. So just imagine that. But this is also very easy, I think.
The size.
Oh, always the girl.
What is the most important
If you have,
thing in the frame if you constantly work with the living beings?
The face.
Face. Face.
Very easy. Hold on, we're gonna get to some catches.
Guys.
Face.
Also, this is like if you compare this. Oh, sorry. If you can compare this, this is like almost all of her face, and this is only like a small part. That's also something to think about when you're like using that small measuring point. And all these things in that manual are supposed to like keep your brain in the game. Like you still need to focus. You need to be exhausted after that. You know, you still need to think and don't stop. Not even for the moment. Wear this.
Her.
Yes. And here I chose the shirt because the face was proportionally too small for the measuring point. Wear this. Very easy. Completely. And now we're going to talk about mirrorless.
Okay.
Do you think the strings are really moving this way?
I'm not sure. I never, first of all, I never took the photos of Harfa before. And I don't think I would have a problem taking those pictures. I think the shutter speed over here is too low for a picture to take, just to have the strings in
I don't mind it's moving. But the problem for me is it doesn't describe a reality. Because in reality the string does, you know, the normal thing. But mirrorless works. Like it's going to start here and it's going to run in real time through the frame respective to the exposure time. And as the signal is getting gathered back and forth, it's going to catch the string here and here and here because the signal is gathered not at once as with the classical shutter, but like
Are you using this mechanical shutter or electronic?
I couldn't use mechanical here because it was in the studio in the during the I would be heard all over.
You need to use the silent shutter. This is the bad thing of silent shutter. I use a silent shutter when I'm shooting something
Hi,
that...
sorry. Can you just give this to all participants and sign, and you can also sign here.
Sure.
Thank you.
Do you have a pen by any chance?
I will bring one.
I never use the silent shutter when I'm working on music stuff
Uh-huh.
because it's... I don't like it. I like to feel the camera when I work with her.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't have a problem like that. The only problem I had it's LED lights.
Sure,
Because
yeah, the frequency, of
I
course.
hate them.
Well, that's
It's
common
never
for
really
that's common for every camera, but this is really.
I never thought of something like that would happen with the silent shutter. I didn't get experience with that.
One thing is it doesn't look bad, yeah, but the other thing is it's not real, and then you get into the situation where you cannot describe what is really happening, and it looks like this, and everybody says, "Oh, did you do that? That's great!" and you're pissed off because it's bullshit.
Yeah, I should say yes, I did it. Because no one gonna care.
Yeah, that's gonna get complicated.
It's easier and it's better for you.
Okay, let's go back to the guessing where this was measured.
The face.
Yeah, sure. It's the face. Also, still remember to look at the measuring. It's still above that middle point because it's better for the digital to have more signal than it was with the analog. So, of course.
Just
His
hands.
ass.
Well,
Kind of.
thinking about like he's having a black pants, yeah, I could measure the light on the arms, but I went much safer way. And as you can see here, there is no measuring point to see. How I measured this was, I was kind of under the tree, as you can see, so I walked away and I measured my hand because I didn't want it to get too close to him. And because there was very like heavy clouds, light was like bouncing all around, almost in the same manner, except under that tree. So if you don't know what to do and the light is the same, just do this. It's quite easy. And also you can play like with, if you are outside in the daylight, you can play with this angle because you can like think of also if you are more interested in eyes, if you want to take a picture of the eyes and you don't know how to measure that, just do this with the hand because eyes are inside these little, abscesses, so you can measure this. It's like a darker area. So that's one of my very favorite methods, but you cannot use it often indoors. So, this is a little bit of a catch too.
The light?
No.
I'm gonna guess his shirt on the left.
No.
Maybe his luck.
So,
Maybe his luck.
exactly. Because that's like biggest space confirmably lit up. Yeah. Very well.
Armpit.
Come on.
The face.
Of course, the face.
Her face.
Yes. It's very difficult, right?
Yeah.
Also, there is maybe due to make the distinction that it was really important for me to measure the darker part. It was almost at the middle of the day, so there was really bright light from the very top, and I don't mind this little overkill here because it still works for me in the contrast and colors. This one. No, it's also thanks to working in the manual settings. If you're working in a theater or a concert hall and you are certain that amount of light didn't change, you don't need to remeasure again. So just carry on working. You don't need to bother with that then. I think a couple of pictures back I was really measuring the face of somebody, and then 4 pictures after that I don't even remember. But you have to be careful really watching the light if anything is changing or not. And this is also a bit of a catch. Proportionally, it's very important.
The painting? Or
Sorry?
the painting on the back?
No, no.
I think the girl.
Which girl?
That in black outfit.
Yeah, no. This is a very wide angle lens, which means if I move this small measuring point on her, it will still be confusing for me, maybe. I wouldn't be so certain. Where is the
guy's
biggest
shirt.
patch of the?
I was thinking the guy's shirt because there's enough to measure.
It's quite close to it, yes.
Oh.
Also, it's also only a bit of a habit. You don't need to measure the skin tones all the time. You can measure whatever you want, but the skin tone is almost always the same. So.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you, okay, when you do a shot for this picture, because you measured on a girl on the right and your focus point it's quite on a girl on the back and the guys over there, and how do you change your settings quickly and measuring the points and turn around to something different to be in focus?
A very good question. At this particular moment,
Okay.
I picked this because it's a skin tone, and
Okay.
I'm not worried about overkilling it a little bit.
Okay.
Then, working in the manual, I needed to measure. This is the very beginning of the photo shoot, and I didn't need to change it for the rest of the photo shoot because light didn't change.
Okay.
So I did that with measuring on the neck, and after that I didn't change a thing
Okay,
except
okay.
focusing. Maybe also what would be interesting to tell is that everybody is used to focus with a finger on the shutter button pressed in the middle. It's a very good idea if your camera can do it to move your focusing button somewhere back, so you don't need to keep it pressed in the middle. It has so many advantages. It's incredible. Also, one of those is I first focused and then I measured, and it didn't. You just put your finger down, but it's of course, right?
Cool.
So it's a very good thing to do for many reasons. For example, when I was working for the newspapers, I don't know, in some protest or something, and I was really scared, And then if you have adrenaline in your veins, your hand is doing this, and you're supposed to hold the shutter button halfway. It's impossible. But if you do this, you can release it, and it stays wherever it's supposed to stay. So it's really useful. I would strongly recommend. It might be confusing at first.
Yeah, I tried that, and it was pretty confusing because then I changed it to lock the focus points on on a camera with a palm because it's much easier. But I'm usually shooting the concerts all the time, and it's much easier if you're tracking the subject and if you have a space to move a bit. When you want one subject to be in a focus point all the time, and you have to move, the lock focus it's quite good to have on a palm.
Yeah. Oh, but that's only mirrorless thing, isn't it?
No, I didn't do DSLR.
You're gonna show me later because I'm not sure if
I don't have my DSLR with me.
Oh, okay.
It's
Maybe
it's on the shelf.
Maybe you can show mine.
Yeah, sure. But I'm a Nikon guy, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna find that. So what is also very efficient if you have the focusing button on the back is that you are on one spot, you're in focus, you take a picture, and you just look around for a while, and if the subject doesn't move back and forth, you just can take a picture, take a camera and take a picture again. You don't need to even refocus because it stays there if your shutter button isn't set as autofocus. So it's a really small thing. I think newspaper photographers really love this, and I consider it very, very, very useful also. So where this one?
Same position.
No. Nowhere. Light didn't change and I didn't need to bother.
Okay. But you have to measure it in one point, so it's.
Yeah, I know. It's as I said at the beginning, it's a way for me if you I don't know, you're taking pictures for 6 hours and you're tired and everything. This is really a
Yeah,
way
it's a
to-
cool thing for that.
It's really a way to stay up. Where this?
Her eye?
Yes, almost. This is very calm. I would measure the eyes, it would be coming much brighter with the correct measurement. So this is a good example because there's like sun right over here, shining really strongly inside, and you don't want that. Even if you want to put it into the composition, you don't want that messy with your measurement. Well, this is also very easy to guess, I guess. This is
It's the guy's face.
Yeah.
yes,
side?
the darker side, exactly. Very well.
The lights, it's nearly where it is, right? A little bit to the left, maybe.
Bit to left.
Or the birds.
Well, this
Nowhere?
is one of the examples where I didn't want my main motif to be completely visible because silhouette for me was much more important.
Okay.
So this is like correctly measured. Like for the intensity, this was more important part than main motif.
Okay.
So if you want to, let's say, take a picture of a silhouette during the concert, you would work the same. You would measure something around and wouldn't bother with the silhouette. So where are these?
First.
Between the trees.
It's like also most uniformly lit up place. But then if you imagine if you had anything like a semi-automatic or automatic mode, this picture wouldn't be possible because it would be measuring something like this and you would be completely lost in the dark. This is also maybe an easy one.
Her jacket.
Yes. And this is also the last example. So maybe we can try something because I think I can borrow this little thing to try out and you're going to somewhat be worried to take a picture. Inside you're going to see exactly the same viewfinder as we used before, and I'm just going to set something useful here and just try to take pictures of something you would find interesting in this room and try to measure, or maybe for the start if you would like to try to picture the hand.
Just for the starters, I'm not a photographer. She's a photographer.
All right.
To learn the craft.
Be gentlemen and start first. Also, here, here, there is a roller, that's F number, and the roller here on the back, that's exposition time. And you're gonna see the measuring on the right side of the viewfinder, and just try it out.
So I'm gonna go, wait, this one here. I'm not seeing any changes.
Just press the shutter button halfway, it's gonna turn on.
Alright. Can I let it go now? Yeah, I can. I see changes now.
And also back here, sorry, I didn't remember, this one is for the autofocus.
Alright.
That might be useful.
Focus it. There we go. I'm using your hand as a guide, huh?
Uh-huh.
Alright, I would guess this would be... Okay, now how do I save it?
Sorry?
Is it just saved now?
Should be the same. Should be the same. The light didn't change. If you have some correct measurement, just press the button.
That's like a little bit brighter. Can I do it?
Yeah, experiment.
Just
But I think in a couple of seconds I'm gonna give you some other model.
Wait, let me just do this again and have it a bit brighter. I think. Is it gonna be like this? Should I shoot it?
Yeah, sure. Ah, that was a long time. That was a long time.
I don't know.
But technically, you measured it really well.
Yeah.
So, if you want to continue. And you show me your camera.
Okay, sorry.
This.
Put some light to the lens.
You might be too close for the lens, but if it's in focus, it's fine. Sorry, I'm just telling you if it's in focus there, just so I can move it. I have this bar. I'm gonna tell you one more reason why I cannot work with these systems. I'm using both eyes open during the focus because I have my leading eye is the right one. So I'm working like this, and if one signal comes just a millisecond later, it's really confusing.
Okay. I didn't like the mirror system from the start.
No.
But actually, when I took this camera, I forgot my card at home. It's cool thing because I have like, I don't use the viewfinder anymore. Really? Yeah, because especially for concerts, when you're working on a smaller concert gigs, which is this venue like we have here. Because I don't find myself very slim, I will be like, going like this and I couldn't see where I'm moving because when I take the shots, I don't care where I'm anything except this doesn't exist.
Okay.
And when I show the concerts like this, I have like this vision that I can see where I'm moving.
Would you say you have set the same stability?
And this have the body has stabilization and the legs have stabilization. So it's when you put your
It's not that easy. Okay.
just let me see if I can. Okay, I can do it here. When I do this, I do everything manually. The white balance.
You know what I think is and I don't mean like for you, but for me, for example, I think if you are using the screen where you see the pre-processed picture, how dark is it, everything.
You can see that on the screen. That's the cool thing with mirrorless cameras.
Yeah, I don't think that's a cool thing.
Why?
Because you don't need to imagine it.
Okay, that's something from the last century.
It's not. It's
I think it is.
It's very, very useful.
It's okay, it is, but I'm still using. I like when you said that you're using the manual mode because I do that also. And when I buy a camera, I put it in a manual mode, and I never move it from there.
Where is the adventure? Like, what I'm doing.
Yeah, I have. I'm taking shots on concerts. It's an adventure by itself.
For me, it's really interesting. Like, I'm gonna take a shit ton of pictures, and I'm gonna go home, and I'm not gonna even look at the screen. And then I'm gonna download all that.
I never look at the screen. I never erase the photos. Okay, I'm looking here on the screen. It's the same thing. On the mirrorless cameras, on the viewfinder, you can see everything which you see here. Exactly the same. So why should I bother myself? When it's easier for me to take pictures like this, why should I do it like this? I mean, I don't see that.
In a mirrorless system, you see the pre-processed image in the viewfinder.
Yeah.
For me, that's
you can turn it off and do it exactly like this one.
How can you turn it off and work with it?
Huh?
How can you turn off the viewfinder and work with it?
How can I turn off viewfinder at all from the process of creation?
No. I mean the pre-processing.
Okay.
If you're working in the manual, you see how bright it is.
Okay.
And then that's how we made the decision.
Okay.
Well, that's not interesting.
I mean, it is, because as I said, I'm not doing anything except the concepts. When you was talking about the measurements, for example, I'm a cell phone. I never went to school for photography or something like that, and I never measured my and I saw my mistakes because when I learned how to work with the manual system, which is pretty good for me, and as I said, I never turned it off. I never measured the light differently from the position of my focus point. I never did it. I don't know. If you're asking me why, I don't know why. Because I never.
I don't think it really matters. I think.
Okay, I think it really matters when I saw the pictures. It really matters for the post-processing of the pictures.
I think for me, what matters is like having the optical viewfinder because you really don't lose the contact with the scene.
Okay.
And as I said, when I'm using both of my eyes open while I'm taking the pictures, it's like, you know, if you have a screen here, it's very slight, but there is still a delay. Very slight, but there is. And then if you see the different signals in the different
Yeah, sure.
it's really,
I never
like, wow.
I was posing my other eye when I shoot, so it's when I'm using the viewfinder.
What?
Ještě plánovat ten čas,
Like,
abyste se zorganizovali na potom.
like we have to go away immediately?
Well, I don't know, but if you want to go for a concert, to make practical things.
Maybe. Because usually...
You should talk about it because it's 45 minutes now.
Usually,
in a moment.
Usually I do this workshop in cooperation with the dance festival, and we usually after this sort of preparation go on some stage where something is happening, so we could try the things. I think we can do it maybe here. I'm gonna borrow one of my cameras, and if you would like to try during some sound testing there, or maybe during concert, I think it would be fine if you're interested.
I have a question. Asking about from a totally different point of view, because I'm not a photographer, I'm rather a guy who works with the artist on stage. What three main advices you can give to, let's say, bands performing on stage to look good on the photos? Yeah.
Well, okay, one of my conditions for work is that I'm not gonna speak to anyone and nobody is gonna speak to me. So I think for me, what is important is that I'm not bothering them at all. I would like to be invisible.
No, that's not what I mean.
I know,
the question is,
for me, I cannot give you the answer because I'm not used to tell people how to look good. Because I'm interested in the reality.
Yeah, of course. But for example, let's say you have a concert here tonight, and this is a reality. If you put, what is the worst color for a photographer? Red or blue, I think.
Color?
Yeah.
Well, the lights.
Yeah.
It slightly depends on the light source, but red is worse because of the edge of the spectrum.
That's what I mean. So that's what the advice I'm asking for. What kind of lights is better to use for that?
Don't think about it like that. Think about it like you want to adjust to anything that can come up. So if it's red, I'm gonna measure right here. But that's the only exception ever regarding measurement. I think, as I said before, for me, the most important thing is that nobody knows that I'm there.
Yeah, of course. But you can also say, if you see 100 photos, you can say, okay, this would look better in a way if something would happen, like I don't know, if the, for example, how to behave on stage so the photographers can make it better. I mean, if you go to a concert of a really big band, like some kind of headliner at a big festival, there is a reason why they have in a contract that photographers can join the photos for, let's say, first 3 songs. Because they know the photographers are there, because they behave differently, because they use different lights there. That's what I'm asking for.
Well, then answer anyway would be try to be invisible to the band.
Yeah, it depends.
I'm not asking for advice for the photographer, I'm asking for advice for the band. For you to work easier. To work easier with you as a photographer.
I have a cool example for it. I was taking shots of Iron Maiden, and when we entering the photo pit for first 3 songs, their manager, she told us like, you don't have to move at all on a photo pit. Each member will come in front of you to take a shot. And I was like, what the hell? I like learned how to walk like a ninja through the photo pit, you know. And this was the first time someone told me you don't have to walk at all. So everyone's gonna come in front of you. And there is like, it was the stupidest thing I ever heard on a concert. Because it was stupid for me. And other photographers were like, they were standing like, holding the camera like this. Same position, same backgrounds.
Answer might be find someone who doesn't bother the band so much and let him loose. Let him improvise, let him be everywhere where he like could or wanted to be. Give him some freedom, but also it's really depending on how much annoying the people really are in the bar, because sometimes it's crazy. So I think some freedom.
Yeah, there is also a lot of different kind of type of photographers, because there is people who using the flashlights in front of the stage, and this is why you have this 3-song rule which stayed over, because people back then they was using the flashes, and imagine that you're singing a concert and there is like a 15 flashes in front of you like, all the time. It's a stupid thing, you know.
Yeah.
And because the photographers can be really annoying on a concert, and that's why all the bands are limited shots. All the big bands are limiting shots for first 3 songs.
I think that's not the only reason, but also it is planned that way. That, for example, some bands have that written down that you can come and make photos only for last 3 songs, because they're all sweat and they're like dying.
Yeah, you have
But they look good because it's a rock band.
Yeah, you have also Osborne when you come in the middle of the show, so it's
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Those things are problems of organizers, I think, because they have to talk to photographers how they can, when they can come, how they can work. They should, of course, do it as they have their instructions, because it's impossible to, for example, to let them do what they want, to go on the stage in between
That's
players
obvious.
and so on. But
It all depends, you know. If I had a chance to go on stage with a lot of bands, in Serbia. I was on stage with Prodigy, with Billy Idol, with a lot of, for example, with Prodigy. The manager just brought me and he told me, okay, you have 15 seconds. And first, what I thought, I was like, holy shit,
I
what I'm
want
going
to
to do in
myself
15 seconds.
to be a little bit more
And I
important
had to do
by
everything I
otherwise
could
it's
in 50 seconds to approve my chance that I was a guy who was chosen between the 20 people to go on stage with them. You know, because I have to prove why am I on stage with Prodigy. It was my thing. And also one of the main things, I was hoping we were going to talk about the concert photography more, because there is a lot of stuff that I'm fighting for in Serbia for all the photographers. I'm also working as a band manager for a couple of bands, and for example, I will never let anyone go on stage if it's not all black.
It's
All black.
like being dressed.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're working tonight over here like that, I will send you home immediately.
Yeah.
Because you can't work in a red on a stage. Because no one.
It's like technical.
When you have,
it's obvious.
it doesn't matter. If
No, I mean, it's the same rule of technical.
Yeah,
working on stage.
if you're
It's obvious.
working on a stage, no one came on a show to see a guy, the drum technician, monitor guy, or everyone else, photographer, no one. They came to see the band. And for example, I just bought this hat, which only revealed my eyes. I'm not sure for an English word for it. I just bought it like 15 days ago, because the next gig I'm going on stage, I'm gonna wear it.
Yeah.
That's my thing. I'm sleeping in black clothes. I don't have nothing except like black clothes, so it's just. I don't like to see the people on stage. I had like a million examples for the best was on a Billy Idol show, and before show, you know, like a few hours before even people started to go in, you know, the video crew. It was 2 guys, and one had a red shirt, and the other one, I think he had a yellow, you know. And we went on stage to have a meeting, you know, just because they told me I'm gonna go on stage, and when I have a chance like that, if I have a chance to go before the show to see the best positions for the shots, you know, if I know how to bend, because I do a lot of preparation for every show. And I went on stage to see the angles, you know, and stuff like that, and the guys from the video crew came with me, and the roadie was like, he's taking this tape, which was like fluorescent, and he told to the video guys, like, you can take this and put it on your head. And I was like, what? Yeah, he was like, they had the same question. And he was like, so it's people better to see you when you come on stage in a red shirt. And I was like, okay, this is the, you know, the cool thing to explain to them. And he asked me, are they with you? I said, no, I don't know these guys at all. And actually I didn't know them. So I explained them later when we introduced to each other why they should wear all black on concerts. It's really important.
Just to react for your complaint about not talking too much about concert photography, I think this method will work everywhere. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. I'm not.
We didn't talk more.
I learned
exactly.
more than I expected, so it's for me it's really cool. So I like as I said, I like the basic stuff because I skipped that in my education as a photographer, and I like to learn some things that it's actually the basics, and I skip it. And when I start to use them now, I was like, "Ooh, this is cool," you know. And I'm making better photos all the time, so it's cool.
I would really recommend to buy some small film camera, because that's the stuff I really miss. For example.
I wouldn't like that.
It's
too expensive. It's too expensive. It's for me. It's a waste of time because I never use the film camera. I admire people who are using the film cameras because I really don't like it. I think it's a waste of time in the 21st century. No one's going to care if you do it on a film or a digital camera when you post it on a social network.
I absolutely don't mean for work. I would kill myself if I would have to develop my.
Yeah, but for anything, if you post it on social networks, no one's gonna care if you did it with a film or with a digital camera. So
I mean for the experience of this, because
yeah, sure.
if you have a camera like that, you can still try, but it's still halfway.
Yeah, you can learn easier with the digital cameras because you can adapt everything on the spot. The film cameras are really cool, but I would leave that to the people who have nerves for it. I don't know.
All right then.
Okay.
On a
How
side
come the
note-
camera is still there?
No, it went through.
Oh, really? Did everybody try it?
No, what do you know?
Send it away, please.
I would like to, I really, I was thinking about to make like concert workshops in Serbia, but I don't think there is a lot of people who's interested in it.
Yeah.
And
You did?
I actually had it somewhere. I found it on torrents, to be honest. I forgot the guy's name, but he recorded the concert photography school. We actually had the stage in his back and with the musicians, and he was talking. Everything that he does, he just show it in a cool way. And I watch it every 6 months because you're constantly learning something new about the concert photography over there. That's pretty cool stuff. And in Serbia you don't have like a lot of photographers doesn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
They don't want to talk. I don't want to talk.
It's common everywhere.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to.
I hate those people. I don't see. I mean, no one learned anything. Like no one's born with it. Come on, you just talk to
I'm
people.
always calm when I'm teaching my stuff because there is really only few people who would have a patience for that.
Yeah, that's cool. Actually, before I came here, I found you on Instagram. I didn't follow you, shame on me. And I don't know how to use the camera. Okay.
Then thumb is a focusing.
Okay.
Just roll with the roars until you see something useful on the.
Just let me find the right button. Okay, I don't know how to use this, so do you want to try it?
No, I'm a complete dummy for that.
Alright. So I think I'm just gonna be there for some time. If you want to try it with someone on the stage, it's gonna be quite different than here. So no problem. Alright then. So any questions?
Yeah. So the topic that you were discussing, it was more one-on-one thing, but what is your take on the how do you approach an event that is going on when taking photography? Do you I mean, these pictures strike me as you don't like to be coordinating or like
Or being coordinated.
noticeable at all. You just like find a moment and take a picture, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm one of the very few people who like enter the theater and hopefully I'm known enough that nobody ever gives me any direction or any specific request. I'm just there, and that's like happiest way of doing my work. ever.
So the reason I'm asking because I don't know much about photography. I'm here as company, but I really like the approach. It's basic. I do audio engineering, and this is really the same approach I like to take. What interests me the most is that it would be much more difficult for you to take a picture in like the fire of a performance than it would be for me to capture sound that
Exactly.
that has been played.
Exactly.
So, what are the
I'm gonna tell you a
tips
funny story
that you-
about this.
yeah.
Okay, during COVID, I'm working for the one of the very big symphonic orchestras in Prague, and they were performing, but they were performing in the radio, and it was gathered with these things, and it was immediately sent to the radio waves all around the country, and I was there with a DSLR which clicks, and you're in the studio, and these things are everywhere, and you are thinking like, what am I going to do? And it's like a hell to be there. There are all those red signs, like on air, you know, everything like that. And I was for a moment thinking about it, and I come up with an idea. I'm gonna be standing next to the trumpets.
Oh yeah.
And I was taking the pictures only when the trumpets were
play their
playing.
blasting. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. Nice.
So things like that can change everything,
It's really
and you have to adapt to that.
yeah.
So it's a very well phrased question actually.
Enjoy
And you
it.
can have like so many things that can happen to you. For example, I'm taking pictures on a contemporary dance festival. And there's this naked African woman. I don't understand the word. Can you attend?
Can we
When you začít?
We're actually finishing just now.
No, oni mají začít s workshopem další.
You probably have the other workshop.
She told us that in about 6 o'clock, 6 and 15 minutes. We'll start.
We're gonna be out in 2.
Okay.
And then it's gonna be probably yours because I don't know.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know. Sorry.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so I was taking pictures of this performance where was this naked black woman on the stage, and it was completely silent. So I was just sitting there for 40 minutes, and at like last 30 seconds there was some instrument suddenly playing.
Yeah.
So I took one picture. And gave it away, and everything was fine because nobody was complaining for having too little amount of pictures, because I didn't broke the atmosphere, and I did not annoy anyone.
Yeah,
It's a bit extreme, but it happens.
Yeah, that.
And one more thing you have to think about when you take a camera, you should put the light, the AF assistant, the light.
You know, that's one of the things in which Canon is better.
Yeah, I kill it. For example, on an Nikon cameras, you have like AF assistant, which is like a little light that comes out to the camera to help you focus the things.
If
You
it
have to
doesn't
turn it off.
it will shine.
This is the thing you don't use on a concerts, on a theaters and stuff like that, because you're annoying the artist who's on stage.
Yeah,
You should be invisible, as I said before.
Okay, so we probably have to
have to go away.
finish.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll probably see you during some concert here.
Yeah. Thank you for the masterclass.